lived vampire romances for almost as long. But as much as I adored the characters and stories I found in the latter, I admit I never really liked the idea that in many of the earlier books, vampires were dead. Or undead. My nitpicky side was just never satisfied with the notion that vampires needed to drink blood to survive, even though they had neither a functioning circulatory system nor a working digestive tract. And I didn't understand how they could speak when most of them didn't breathe or have an operating respiratory system. I know, that's pretty persnickety. It is fiction, after all. But you can blame one of my creative writing professors for that. He told me that every time readers open a fictional book, they approach the story with a certain willing suspension of disbelief. They know, for example, that vampires don't exist, but they're willing to overlook that, or suspend their disbelief while they read the book. The less a writer requires readers to suspend their disbelief, he went on, the more the readers will enjoy the story. That notion really stuck with me, in part because I tend to enjoy books more when there's so much realism in the stories that it makes the fantastical stuff seem real too. If I wrote a vampire romance, I knew I'd already be asking readers to suspend their disbelief regarding the existence of vampires, so I wanted to make every other detail in the story as realistic as possible, in hopes that readers would think, I know this would never happen in real life, but if it did, I could totally see it happening like this. While I was puzzling over a way to avoid the things my nitpicky side disliked in vampire stories, a way that would also allow me to fill the series with both good immortals and bad vampires, I happened to watch 3 things: a documentary on possible explanations for early vampire folklore, a biography of the Mad King George, and a program on the tardigrade, or water bear. When those 3 things combined in my head, everything fell into place. Sounds weird, right? But that's exactly how it happened. Vampires and immortals in my books, I determined, would both be very much alive and infected with a virus. Humans infected with it would become vampires, who suffer progressive brain damage that drives them insane. Since vampires in both movies and books usually choose to be villainous or evil, I liked that this would take that decision away from them, so even good guys would have no choice but to become madmen who prey upon humans. Gifted ones, on the other hand, would become immortals and acquire the same speed, strength, and heightened senses the virus gave vampires, but their advanced DNA would protect them from the more corrosive aspects of the virus and leave them nearly as indestructible as the tardigrade. While extreme blood loss would kill vampires, immortals would instead go into a sort of stasis or hibernation and survive until another blood source comes along. Immortal Guardians' wounds would heal faster than vampires, and older immortals would actually be able to withstand limited exposure to sunlight, so nothing short of decapitation would kill them. And there you have it. My Immortal Guardians series was inspired by A Sorceress of His Own, a biography of King George III, and programs about the Book of Enoch, the tardigrade, and the history of vampire folklore. As a bonus, I'll mention what inspired Amy's character. Believe it or not, her brother's story came to me before hers did. That's right, the Lasaren came to me before Night Reigns, so I've wanted to write Talon and Lisa's story for a very long time. I'll preface this by saying that before I began writing, I used to roll my eyes and think it corny whenever an author or screenwriter would say this or that story came to them in a dream. And yet, wait for it, Talon and Lisa's story was inspired by a dream. A very vivid dream that, instead of fading away as so many do, stayed with me and gradually evolved into the Lasaren. The only question I needed to answer to get the story rolling was, what exactly would drive Talon to come to Earth? As soon as I asked it, I thought he was searching for his sister. And so I conclude the winding tale of what inspired my Immortal Guardians series, and the Aldebaran Alliance, and the Gifted Ones. I can't wait to see what will come next. Deleted Scenes. If you are a writer, or an aspiring writer, then you already know this. But some readers are unaware that traditional publishing